public hearing will be held at the Holbrook Town Hall, first floor in the Heritage Meeting Room, Town of Holbrook, Massachusetts, on Wednesday, August 10th, 2016 at 7 p.m. to hear the following petition requesting a variance and/or special permit from the Holbrook zoning bylaw. Petition is 1603 Daniel and Lisa Ostrino.
Yes.
Thank you. Of 9 Border Road, Holbrook, Mass. Requests a special permit to appeal Holbrook Building Commissioner's decision that 7 Border Road is not a buildable lot. The petitioner requests relief under Mass General Law, Chapter 40-A. The Plan 39 and lot is 083.
Okay, Daniel, Lisa, somebody wants to speak on this.
Actually, I apologize, but my lawyer was supposed to be here at 7:15 to be here to tell you about what it is we're doing, but he's not here, so.
Yep, they're coming.
Sound like they're coming in the door?
I hope so.
Okay.
I mean, we can tell you our understanding of it, but
All right.
Until they get lost.
All right. We've just started the hearing. We just brought the hearing to order. Daniel was speaking. Hopefully you were showing up. So if you'd like to state who you are and if you're gonna.
Yes, Attorney Richard Wainwright.
Do you have a card, Mr.
Brockton. And I'm here representing your petitioner.
Mr. Wainwright, do you have a card, business card?
No, I'm 84 years old and I don't have much business, so I don't have a business.
Okay.
Just for the record, I got some exhibits here I think that are important. First of all, is a copy of the zoning bylaw. I give you 2 copies, yeah. Yeah. The original zoning law that was enacted, as you see, in 1954. Now, the next important document is the first deed out of the common owner of this parcel. This is the deed back in 1953. So this deed, creating a separate lot, occurred in 1953. Now, that lot is governed by the zoning law in effect in 1953 when there was none. So we're interested here in knowing the history of that lot and the history naturally of the lot next door. So there's a summary. The next item is a summary of the title report, title examination on the vacant lot.
Okay, can I just interrupt you for 1 second? When
Sure.
you're talking about the lot next door, can you just clarify that for us?
Yes, what we're talking about here is that next door to this vacant lot is a house. And this is the title report on the house. On the exam, because it's important to.
So this is 9 Border. Okay.
Yeah. And it's important because on the doctrine of merger, if the 2 lots come into the same ownership, then they're no longer protected by any grandfather clause or any provision of the state law. The state law provides, by the way, I'm sure you're aware that any lot held in separate ownership at the time of the zoning change that's at least 50 by 100 is a buildable lot forever. So that lot, as you can see from the title examinations, those 2 lots never come into common ownership. Now the building inspector believes that because Mr. who lived in the house with his wife, held the title as tenants by the entirety, when he bought the lot next door, that lot lost its entitlement to be considered a separate lot for building purposes.
Can you say that again? Became contiguous is what the building inspector is telling you?
The building inspector is telling me that when the husband bought the vacant lot, that they were in common ownership, and therefore it was not a billable lot anymore. Now, that may have been the law at one time, but it's not the law now. First of all, there's one leading case in Massachusetts on that particular subject. So this package right here is that leading case in Massachusetts, which says husband and wife on one lot, and the wife owns the other, or that's not a common ownership. And in addition to that, I had a summary of all of the laws across the United States where this similar thing has occurred. And in every case, unless it's identical, husband and wife, both trustees of the same trust, husband and wife, the lots do not merge. So this is the law on the subject at hand.
This is a case from 1986.
Yes. Now, you can read that at your leisure, but the important thing in considering this is what Mr. Ruta's intent was when he bought the lot. If he bought it, oh, that's great to have a big side yard, he would have put it in his same, but he bought it as an investment, and I have an affidavit here, which I'll leave with you, but I think I should read it, so you, because I only have one copy. My name is Bernard M. Ruta. I am the sole owner of a vacant lot, parcel 83 on Assessors Map 39. I live in my home adjacent to parcel 83 at 9 Border Road, which I own with my wife Deborah as a tenant by the entirety, which we purchased in 1988. At a later date, in 2006, I purchased parcel 83 in my name alone as an investment for the future home of my daughter. It has been in separate ownership since before Holbrook adopted zoning in 1956. It could never have become part of our house lot because I did not have the power to do so, because my wife refused to accept a deed to the parcel, and I have since deeded it to my daughter so my wife can inherit it. So it can never come into common ownership. The important thing to understand here is you can't give a deed to somebody unless they accept it. It's a deed is a contract. I mean, people who have contaminated land environmentally, you can't just have a deed and deed it to somebody else and get off the hook. Every recipient of a deed has to agree to accept it. And it's the responsibility of them to record it if they, so the fact that his wife refused to accept the deed, then it probably never could have merged into one common ownership. I'll leave that with you as an exhibit.
Thank you.
I think you know that there are plans to put a house up there, and I don't know whether that's relevant for the hearing tonight, but if it is, I have a copy of the suggested building permit
Yeah,
plan.
it's not really relevant, but,
No.
But the information is good to have, you know,
And-
attached to the rest of it.
And here are the proposed elevations and floor plan of the house also, although you say it may not be relevant, it's information that you may find of value.
Okay. It's,
So,
looking at this, just to put this aside, you know, fairly quickly, the house part of it is, you know, if you were to be coming back to us for this, you know, you'd be looking for relief for side lot lines and stuff like that. So this is, you know, this is a separate issue pending, you know, the case that's in front of us, which is building, reviewing the building inspector's decision to deny, based on chapter 40. So this is, this is something different, I guess is what I'm saying, it's phase 2
Yeah.
of,
No,
working.
naturally, the building inspector has to agree that this is a buildable, that these proposed plans meet the building code. Naturally, that's why they're really not
Right,
relevant to
right.
tonight's hearing, but
They're
just,
not relevant, I
for
just
information.
wanted to make that clear to everyone that,
and I think also, you got that thing in the neighbor's side? Put it again. And,
That's it. He wrote on the envelope as well.
Oh. there are some abutters who were parties in interest in this.
most definitely we will accept.
Excuse me?
Most definitely we will accept
Yes.
opponents and opposition letters either way.
Okay, this,
That's all we have for that.
this, just a letter from one of the parties in interest.
No, those are acceptable, so we didn't bother to
Yeah,
get
we
the
didn't
rest
get
of them.
anything
We
close
weren't
to-
sure if they were acceptable,
Yeah.
so we didn't bother to get them, but he just
He
came
dropped
by
down the house
and really
next
wanted
week,
to.
but, yeah.
But you talked to all the neighbors?
Mhm.
Everybody came over and said they
Yeah.
were supporting.
Yeah.
Okay, so you didn't find nobody was objecting to having a house?
Not a single person.
Basically, I understand sometimes the building inspectors they're not necessarily expected to keep up with the law as they change, and this is the kind of an incident that really doesn't happen that often, so it wouldn't be, it's not something that the building inspector would like you have ever come across before, or ever will again. So it's a unique situation, and that's why you have a Board of Appeals.
Question I have is chapter 40, what he's denying is based on chapter 40.
48,
Yep, sorry, chapter 40A, and I don't remember. the-
sections 8 and 13, I
Is it
believe.
8 and 13, or we had that on the, oh, it's on here, right?
Section 8 is.
Section 6, paragraph 4 is what's written on here. After the laws, chapter 7.
Well,
And Massachusetts General
Yeah,
Laws,
sec-
chapter
that-
48, section 8 and 14(1).
Right.
Now, 8 and 14 are
one is the.
timestamps.
I'm
Am
sorry,
I
what?
correct? They're timestamps, am I correct on that?
Well, the timing, yeah, but one gives the authority of the Board of Appeals to do certain things. You have the authority to give variances, you have the authority to give special permits, and you have the authority to handle appeals when someone appeals from a decision of the building inspector. Those are the three, and there's a procedure set forth, how you go about that,
Right.
and,
I guess what my question is chapter 40A,
yeah,
section 8 and 14 have certain specific dates that grandfathered lots, am I correct in?
no, there is no,
2004 or 2005, there was a granting of these kinds of lots prior to that?
well, there was a time when
There's a time
when the
frame.
economy went sour and the legislature extended all the times that people
That was
had.
even in more recent times, that was during the Patrick administration in 2008.
Yeah. I don't know of any recent changes that would
Well, that's
affect,
what I'm saying, that's not really a recent change, it's around the 2004, 2005 timeframe, which would be prior to Mr. Ruda purchasing this in 2006.
right, but the point is that it has always been the case that you had to have a, well, the title, in order for a lot to merge, the title had to be the same. In other words, there were a lot of cases that people lost their opportunities because they One of a very famous one in Stoughton, not that long, well, not that long, it was 30 years ago. But they put a lot in his wife's name and the evidence came in that he was in total control. He could, and so the courts voided the subdivision that he had and said the new lot sizes came into effect because he himself, even though he had a corporation and he was sole owner of the corporation and it was a subterfuge. So the point is, the courts can manage their way to get around subterfuges, but this is not a subterfuge. This is, as you can see, Mr. Ruda said that one of the reasons he bought the house, bought the vacant lot, was if his wife had divorced him, he was going to build a house right next door to him. So that,
Okay.
I know that's not relevant, but that just happens to be an interesting aside. But I don't think.
Right, in the sense that it was, you're saying that the time stamps on this kept it as a separate lot.
Yes, the
Based
sequence is, it was all.
based on the
You compare the
1988
two.
and the 2006 dates when they were recorded.
Right. The only time there was anybody even with a common name or anything else, it only occurred, and there's no question, I would think you'd agree, that prior to Mr. Ruda's buying that lot, it was a buildable lot.
Yeah, I was just looking at that.
No question about that. So the question is, did his buying that lot in his own name convert that to a non-buildable lot? That's the issue, because it was clearly buildable up until that moment, because it was a 50 by 100 foot lot held in separate ownership, which is protected under state law. So the question is, did that somehow?
Just, maybe this is just a misprint here, but we're looking at Joseph Salvo as owned this lot on 5/19/06.
Yeah.
And Mr. Reuter sold it to him. Is that
But
what you're saying?
none of the people on that lot, none of the people who own the vacant lot also ever owned the house. There was never a time when,
What I'm saying is this is saying that Mr. Salvo owns Seven Border Road.
No, I bought it off him. He was the
So
owner,
this
and I
is,
bought it off him. That's-
this is a
These
misprint.
dates don't,
That's a misprint.
these
misprint
dates
dates.
don't
Because
match.
this says,
Should be a 1 there somewhere? Should be a 16?
Well, it shouldn't, it's not a question of the date, it's a question of ownership. You're saying
No,
Salvo
but
owns
just
it?
help us with the date.
Yeah,
first.
just-
I don't have my glasses.
this says,
you beat me to it.
says, you bought this on 5/17/06, and it says Mr. Salvo bought it on 5/19/06, 2 days after you bought it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
misprint,
definitely a
that's a
misprint.
misprint.
Exactly what date it is, I don't remember, but that's definitely a misprint. I mean,
Yeah. You drew the,
Okay.
we drew the list, I mean, I got the,
It's more of clarification than.
yeah,
it's
It's
wrong.
not,
It's wrong.
it's the,
I
it's
got
showing the same book,
six.
it's showing the same page,
This shows
so.
This shows 5/19/06, this one that we have in our system.
Which says that right in that book
That's
page.
that book page, 23/686.
So what does it say?
And that's the
It
same
should be a
book page.
different
It
book
has to be,
page,
it
though.
should be a different book.
Here we are right here.
Yeah, Joseph Salvo, 7 Border Road is 5827, 572 on
Oh.
1981.
Which is.
No, that's
this
the
one
same.
here, that's, Harry was crossed out.
See, this document that we have
That's-
doesn't have the Crokers on the list.
Alright, I'm gonna, this document here, just go.
This was in our package.
Right, and then go back to the other page,
That's 9, that's 9.
I've got the whole title here on the vacant lot, and
Where's the rest of number 7?
the,
This is 11, I don't know what's on. This is all I have on 7.
Other than looking
the
at,
deed, the actual deed from Mr. Salvo to Mr. Ruda was 17th of May, 2006, maybe it's,
Heidi, do you have?
yeah, the 17th of May, 2006. That previous item in the 90s, it's the same book and page with the wrong, Harry and Joseph, that was,
No,
Yeah, I don't have the text for it.
is it on this, is it on this, the original application?
that, I can correct that, the deed into Joseph Salvo is a misprint. The deed into Mr. Salvo was January 2nd, 1981.
I think we're fine with that. You know, you can see that the book pages are all copied and pasted, and this should give us the parcel.
Yeah.
Doesn't it show the book? Oh, no?
I don't think it
Well,
The book and page, isn't that up top somewhere?
does. No, there's just the
981.
parcel ID.
That's into Harry
Right there.
Salvo.
Oh,
22586, okay, here it is. And
page is 596, that is not.
the date for that is, according to this,
10/26/2015.
Harry gave it to Joseph.
Oh, that's this one, right? 33586, page 596.
yep.
That's, so that's,
All right, so we
so
got
that's,
that
that's,
confirmed.
that's, yeah, that's confirmed to them
Okay.
from Ruda.
Okay, so the prior one here. Okay. All right, I'm gonna kind of dismiss these because they're,
Wrong. Wrong, the dates are wrong.
dates are wrong. Okay. Questions? Questions?
I have a question about that date. No, I'm good. Trying to guess the ones on here.
Steve?
You're saying at no point was this ever contiguous between the two ownerships, and that's basically your case.
That's the case. There was never, the two lots never came into own separate. Before 1954, when you passed the zoning, they had a common owner, yes. That was before the zoning.
Uh-huh.
But the lot was sold, the vacant lot was sold before zoning went into effect. It was put into separate ownership
Okay.
before there was any zoning in Holbrook. And so that's basically, that would remain under state law a buildable lot unless it came in the same common ownership with somebody who owned abutting land.
The separate tax bill for both lots too.
Only if they made
That's
it,
the tax bill. for-
Excuse me?
only if they made it contiguous would that happen.
Right.
If it became contiguous,
If the person made it, that purchased it, made
if
it.
the person purchased it, if Mr. Ruda had purchased it in the name of his husband and wife as tenants by the entirety, it would have wiped it out as a buildable lot. I don't think there's any question about that. You know, if you don't have a lawyer to protect you, times like that, sometimes you lose.
Yeah.
But he understood, as far as he was concerned, he was buying it as an investment for all the contingencies. And now, you know, his daughter wants to live there, and that's what he had planned all along.
Never had a building permit on that property before? Nobody ever?
No.
Did you say it was on the separate book and page, even though what it tells us here is the same one?
We've got it on the text bill.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Oh, that's actually on this one, so,
correct. There you go, right there, yeah.
right there, okay,
The in-between stuff is
yeah,
the
all right,
subject.
yep, okay.
Okay, so the claim being that Mr. Moriarty's denying you because of chapter 40A, section 8 and 14, which is, in your interpretation of this, the contiguous lots, or the lack of being a contiguous lot. Correct? Am I
Right.
thinking
That's
this?
exactly right, because
And Steve is basically questioning you on.
the lots are contiguous, but the ownership never was.
Oh,
Yeah.
so we,
Yeah. That's contiguous, right.
it's side by side, but there's different ownership, so.
Right.
Okay. Questions and motions?
No.
Anybody, you're all proponents for this, so I don't think there's any opposition here, except for,
Charlie, do you oppose?
Charlie, you oppose
I'll
this?
speak quickly, okay?
I would actually like that, yes.
Oh, thank you. My name is Charlie Woodward. I work for Professional Land Survey Associates, and I'm working for Dan and Lisa, okay, in their proposal. Our firm actually drew the plan that you're looking at. I did a lot of talking with Dan. We did the original title before we started doing any of the field work. We saw that, as you can see, Mr. Ruda and his wife owned the house. The vacant lot was owned by Mr. Ruda only. And prior to the last name being the same, prior to the last names being the same, that was always an isolated ownership, 50 by 100 lot. Never owned by any of the abutters, okay? To answer your question, if a piece of land is owned in common, as an isolated ownership, 50 by 100, and you would happen to buy the land next door, you would automatically lose your right to build on that. They would automatically add that to your existing lot to get it as close as they could to today's ownership. But in Mr. Ruda's case, okay, and I tried to explain this to Dan, and I've known Dan for a lot of years, okay, probably as long as you guys have. What I tried to explain to him is that Mr. Ruda and his wife own the house and always have. Mr. Ruda himself owns the lot and always has. And Dan said to me, well, Charlie, that's the same thing. He says, you know, if you're married, you know you're going to do what your wife tells you to do. So he says, to me, they both control the lot. I said, Dan, I don't know how long you've been married, but that doesn't work in my house. And it's the same with you and I. If you and I bought a piece of land together, and I bought the piece next door, in my own ownership, you can't tell me what to do with that any more than I can tell you what to do with the piece we own together. So to me, they were always in separate ownership. One has nothing to do with the other. Unfortunately, the last name is Ruder on both, but that doesn't make them in common ownership. That's my
True,
opinion.
except I believe Dan is adding the piece that, you know, if you're married, you both own 50%, or, you know, the wife owns 51% and the husband owns 49%, right? Isn't that how that works?
In my house, my wife has 99.
That's exactly how it works.
I guess what I'm saying, and not
Now, I
to
can see
be,
Dan's logic, but
Right,
as you
but-
know, Mr.
but
and Mrs.
Mr.
Ruda,
Ruder passes away, God forbid.
sure,
His wife now owns that lot, 100%,
unless it's in a will,
unless it's in a will.
which
Right.
we don't know what Mr. Oh, God
But the
forbid, in case
common,
Mr. Ruda gets,
you know.
Mr. and Mrs. Ruda get divorced, and the court settles that Mr. Ruda, so that,
Right, there is
It
different
could've-
fine lines of
It could have
different.
disappeared. The right to build on it could have disappeared if he died and
and she inherited.
she inherited it, but that's why he made sure she didn't.
But if she put it under a different name,
Oh, yeah, she could have done that too.
then it would still be separate.
If I may, everybody seems to be enjoying a little bit of humor involved with this, but going along with what, it's really on point, it seldom is, but Charles Dickens wrote several novels, and in one of them, the husband opens the door, and the police are there, and he says, "You're under arrest." He said, "Well, what am I under arrest for?" "Well, your wife was caught shoplifting." And he says, well, why should I be arrested if you caught my wife shoplifting?" And the sergeant says, "The law presumes that whatever a woman does, she does at the direction of her husband." And he says, if the law believes that, then the law is an ass. And that's where that line, the law is an ass, it comes from. If the law believes that.
You're dating it with Charles Dickens.
But that's basically, you know, the way I felt, and the way I still feel. I mean,
Right,
you know, so.
right. I understand, you know, your concept on it, I understand Mr. Wainwright's concept. I understand everybody, of course, wants to build a house on a piece of land, that's given by the father, so, you know, what we have to do is, go through all of this. I don't think there's any more questions,
No.
and come up to a decision based on what we've heard, all the facts, and Heidi, our timetable on all of this is
Our decision by September 2nd.
September 2nd. We will certainly be before September 2nd, not to keep people
Thank you.
waiting on things, okay?
Thank you for your time, we appreciate
All
it.
right.
Thank you very much.
Take care, guys.
Bye.
Good seeing
Great to see
Heidi.
you.
Good seeing you too, Heidi. How's the summer going?
Good. I'm a grandmother.
Have a good night.
Boy,
Yeah, thank you.
Where? 2 months ago.
Yeah?
Come see us
Mummy's
sometime.
little girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get another couple coming up. I'll be seeing you next month. So.
Okay, good.
Guys, thanks a lot for your
Look
help.
forward to seeing you.
Have a good
All
night.
right,
Good to see you, Charlie.
Good seeing you too.
Boy, you can, you can really kind of go both ways on this. It's,
Really could.
the understanding of how this, you know.
How it came about
Yeah,
in your timeline, but you make a valid argument. If he hadn't have sold the lot and something happened to him, she does, unless he willed it to her.
Yeah.
It's immaterial.
That's too,
Yeah, it's too vague.
Well, it's, you know, they live together, the common ownership, that, you know, you're,
if they would.
I don't know, you know. What I would say is, I'm not professed enough in that piece to say that how I cast it out there about, you know, their husband and wife, they own everything together. Whether the deed says one or the other, and if there's no will stating anything different, and that's not for us anyways, it's kind of gone beyond us, is the way I look at it. I kind of look at it as, you know, if he had passed away, then did she have it all? If they're living together for all these years, husband and wife, well, you know, the money's kind of one and the same, and, you know, if his paycheck wasn't covering paying the property taxes on Border Road, was she technically paying it? I mean, how do you split all of that? So
Actually, you don't. I think, I look at it, if you don't, can I intervene?
no, go right ahead, this is a discussion.
It's black and white. Here's
Okay.
one deed, here's one ownership, here's the other deed, here's the ownership. I've seen it in the past that they, actually, the timetables you're talking about, in different towns, since I've been in real estate, it's, the Weymouth at one time was 15,000,
Yeah,
and they went to 25.
but
So-
anything
But
that
if, but if
was,
you had something that was, if you had 2 lots that were up, would be 30, they gave you so much time to put in a separate deed, separate LLC, whatever you want to do to make sure that you were able to keep 2 lots at 15,000, that it wouldn't become contiguous. And this never became contiguous, because it was always under different, contiguous ownership, it was always under somebody else's name. So I don't think you can think into the future of husband and wife wills.
yeah, I mean, I'm probably getting too far off the path,
You can't.
you know,
I don't
yeah.
think you could
yeah,
go there.
yeah.
I think it's pretty black and white. That's why I was confused with the book and pages being the same. I said, something's up with that.
Right.
And then my question was, that was gonna be, Keith grabbed it and he showed us what it was on their, some of their examples with the application. So that was a typo that they were able to
This is the type, yeah.
take care
Yeah,
of.
the typo was fine, that was almost,
I would have blown it up if they didn't have something else to look at. But if it's under different ownership, and it has been, and, you know, I've seen lots bought other areas and have done the same at 5,000 square feet. But it wasn't contiguous ownership around it. That's why they do it that way, is to save it from becoming contiguous. Whether this person knew it or not when he did it.
right, it doesn't sound like he probably did,
He
but,
just did it that way and it worked out.
He did luck out on that whole side of things.
That's all. The law, he didn't know what it was, but it was just, it worked out. he couldn't see the future either, as far as lots getting bigger.
The timestamps, I guess, I guess what we're really saying is that's the key word to the whole thing that he kept repeating and you're repeating too, is they were never a contiguous lot all the way from the beginning of time, basically.
Contiguous ownership,
Yeah.
previous zoning, and even thereafter, it was still separate. That's why I asked if there was ever a building permit, just to see if they had something they didn't perform, whether it was another reason,
Right.
whether it was them or somebody else won.
There was a, yeah,
That's
denial for a building permit.
Yeah.
Before. I don't even know how that gets intersected into something.
But during their ownership, that was my
That would,
question.
yeah.
But if you go by there, it's kind of behind Crockett's place.
Going up behind you. All right, well, entertain motions to this?
I make a motion that the lot is a buildable property and they should be able to get and receive a building permit for a single family home.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This up is, it was never, basically the statement being was never according to, the property,
Something to sleep like.
Heidi, how do you go back to tax bills?
Excuse me?
Tax bills, is there a way to go back and just, reconfirm that tax bills never show, you know, we've got copied pages that are not completely, as we know here, accurate, just to be able to close the hearing out and write the decision up based on the fact that, where is that piece?
I think in our computers, the tax history goes back to 98.
Yeah,
In
so
the
this is,
computer.
where does this
This is
page-
more accurate than, that's the
That
house, that's
is,
the house.
those are the record cards which are held in the assessor's office,
Right.
Oh,
that they
Okay, so
record
they
from the
copied
registry
this.
of deeds.
I guess in order for me to write this up, proving that it's never been a contiguous lot, you know,
You'd have to go by, you wanna work off of,
Right here.
off that 5-3, that it was done prior to the zoning. And
Well,
even after zoning, it still would never configure.
yeah, I know, I understand section 5.3, yeah, but just the proof
Yeah.
that gets put into this folder, you know, with the
What's that
decision.
card there from the assessors?
What if,
So this is 1963, 1973, 1987, and 1990, and that's for,
That's the house, number 9.
that's number 9.
So it's the parents' house.
Number 9, and then this is number 7,
Yeah.
which is the lot in question, that it's not contiguous, there's never with this. This is, what I'm looking for here is just the proof. So,
It shows two
this,
different lot numbers, so you have
right, but it shows 1963, it doesn't show below
it.
4.
It doesn't show before 63.
Right, and we're saying, Mr. Wainwright's statement is based upon 1953, the beginning of the zoning laws in the town.
but even.
So we're missing some history is what I'm getting at.
Right.
You want them to do a title search and give it to Dan?
You do a title search, yeah, okay. I just, if we have it prior to 1963, then that's fairly
Mm-hmm.
quick versus waiting for a title search.
But if these are the only cards
I
that it
think
says
these
it's
are the
on,
only cards.
if these are the only cards.
They would
then
have,
all-
they would
they're
have
not
to,
gonna have
they
it.
would have to prove the title search, bring it in, show it and give it to Dan prior to a permit. We have that ability to put that in there?
We have the ability to put that in there.
Would that be something you wanna do it for
Yes.
proof?
So wait, he owns 11 as well?
Well, 11 wouldn't be contiguous
Yeah,
with 7,
correct.
so, very good point then, I'm writing that up as, title search required.
Because they have already done it. They're,
It sounds like they've done it, but
Engineer
this
did.
is kinda,
yeah, well, he's just putting it on, and the engineer did.
Yeah, and he did meet with Dan whenever this first began, a couple of years ago, and, you know, Dan still holds firm with his decision.
What's the title, saying bring a title search in and show us why, doesn't.
yeah, there's a little. Again, this is kinda one of those things where the paper trail isn't completely there when you start looking at it, you know, as far as what should have probably been put with this, and I'm not realizing it really until now, but that's the way, the real proof in this thing, because this.
He tried to give it to us this way.
You know, and once those dates
He doubled up on the.
weren't right, it was like, that's when the red flag went up with me, but, I mean, my assumption is that this is entirely correct, and whether we should be waiting for a title search before I mean, we're all in agreement to give it to them, but, do we require the title search prior to our decision? Or do we put the decision based on the title search and make Dan
Isn't that what he did to get it to us here? Now that I think about it. Isn't that what the engineer said?
Alright, let's do it that way. We'll do it. Required prior to issuance of building permit, title search with proving lots not contiguous
Warranting contiguous ownership.
ownership. Okay. Okay, we'll go with that. Alright. Other business before we close,
On your agenda, there was also, authorization to vote you to sign the vouchers,
oh, right,
part of the agenda.
yes, yes.
So we have to vote on that. I have a couple of vouchers to be signed. And just schedule maybe our next meeting.
Don't we have some sort of form, I think before we had that for a voucher, that would be recorded with the treasurer? No?
Accountant? Just, I get a memo to the accounting
Yeah,
department.
oh, you've got it.
Yeah, I get it.
Oh,
already
okay,
made up.
perfect, okay.
That's
Alright.
that.
So, we'll take a vote to authorize whoever the chair, is that, we stating that as whoever the chair is for the meeting?
That's what I put
For
in.
that, okay,
Oh, no, I put in you as the
okay, it's
signer.
just, okay, so it's me, alright. Whoever the chairman is gets to authorize
Yeah.
and pay.
Board member James Day.
Alright, so that,
I can go change it real quick.
You can write chairman next to
right, just write it beside it before we
Good,
sign it,
initial
we'll
it.
initial it.
Chairman James Day. He needs a plaque too.
We have to get other plaques for everybody. Alright, here, motion on that?
Second. Oh, the motion that you can sign it
Yes.
as the chairman? Yes.
Okay, second,
Sign it.
all in favor?
Aye.
I remember that from last meeting, that keeps us all from having to
Sign it.
try and run up here for a door of the meeting.
Is there a certain colored pen, or we just using the pen you gave us?
Yeah.
You
Oh,
wanna sign
yeah,
first?
that's
Is
fine.
there protocol here on who signs first? Can we-
I don't know, I don't think so. Oh, it is, see, she put it, oh, I thought you meant what line too.
Anyone?
It's not in alphabetical order, that's all right.
This Johnson.
Two of them,
You can
Oh,
sign that, sure.
down low,
At least he's acknowledging, you know.
down here?
in the, you know, right there when you, where you normally do. This is for this,
I vouch for that. Vouch for approval from the G.
okay, and then these two just have to be signed. That's for the advertising. I didn't get the last one until recently.
Do I sign this or just you?
Well,
I'll
you guys
sign
are all
mine.
here, yeah.
Wow.
Can you do that again in the future? I really couldn't. Can we just agree we all don't have to sign these?
Yeah. We have to do this every year.
Yes. to
Okay,
get off
because
that
that's,
agenda.
yeah, because we had it and then had a
Yeah.
period of time, I'm sorry.
We already done them?
Yeah, yearly.
I do, yeah.
So this was more because it was more lines, right? One of,
Yeah,
$20, $10.
and then the other thing, only other thing I have is,
Date?
you guys got your new books, okay? And, just pick a date for the next meeting. Scott was good with everything except, September 14th.
Just give me a day.
I'm good except everything the 21st.
I'm just good.
Hang on.
Oh, and maybe the 7th. Cable Advisory wants to meet the 7th. At 6 o'clock though.
Cable advisory.
Yeah, I could gavel that in, gavel that out real quick actually, if it has to be the 7th.
Cable's good.
I'm actually hoping for reorganization, but I probably will lose that battle.
I wouldn't mind doing the 7th.
We could do the 7th, I'll be up at HCAM at 6, I'll make the cable meeting at 6. I got everybody's email, said they can do 6, so if we do the,
I know the 14th,
so do the 7th at 7. and
that would be better instead of getting all the way to the 21st.
Okay, so 7th is good.
Yeah,
Okay?
You gonna send us a reminder?
Yes,
Thank you.
I'll get it off, I got the ad ready and everything, I'll send it out. I was just waiting on a date.
I just had one other thing too. Did we get a final number on what we didn't spend for FY15, do we know? What's that?
FY16.
Sorry.
17.
Yeah.
Sorry, I always do that. I always do that.
I don't
This
have
clock
it with
still
me.
has to be
I don't
adjusted,
work for
too.
the state, see, it just doesn't, you know.
I can run over to my computer and grab it. I don't have it with me, I'm sorry.
All right,
I'm gonna guess maybe 400.
okay, that's, all right, yeah. I was just curious, you know,
Yeah.
where we ended up, so we still.
Well, actually counting
we
these
still
two,
look
because I
like-
just got this one bill in.
Yeah, but
So
these
do,
are
so that's probably gonna bring it down. One of these is gonna be encumbered to 16.
All right.
Yeah. The one for 9680. Cause it was for,
Oh, it was the June hearing, right?
yeah, but it was back in June. I can't even think. Yeah, so probably maybe, I'm gonna say 300.
Can you send out our reminder? Would you just send that number out to?
Sure.
I do have a question actually. So, the decision letter is gonna say that we're appealing, that we're granting them an appeal on Danny's decision to issue a building permit. But in reality, the building permit is not gonna be issued because of the intended house they plan to build.
It could be issued depending on the house plan.
Right.
It's just saying that the lot,
So
all
we're-
we're saying is the lot is buildable.
Well, all we're saying is the lot is, we're saying the lot is
Right,
buildable.
Right.
Okay.
Buildable,
Okay,
right,
buildable.
very, very good point.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Buildable.
It's not, we're not agreeing to issue the permit, we're agreeing that it's a
No,
buildable
and that's where I was
lot.
making sure I was clarifying.
Issue
Because
them.
when they walk in, Danny's gonna deny them the building permit
Right,
on the
based
buildable
on-
law, well, based on this decision, and they have to, if they don't change those plans.
Well,
Sounds like
I
it.
didn't even look at the plan.
Neither did I.
Well, I just did that just,
Help.
Not really for
Understand.
Mr. Wainwright or for
Yeah, yeah.
Charlie Woodward, but, you know, are they thinking that they're getting this all put into one package tonight, and they're not, so.
Was it, when you looked at the plan, were they meeting the setbacks?
No, they weren't, that's what I said,
Oh.
they would be back here for phase two, you know, based on what I saw for plans, because they were showing basically, I think it was they put the house in the center of the lot, and they had basically 8 foot on each side, so they're, yeah, a 5,000 square foot lot is not gonna, you know, unless you're gonna build this.
There's a lot of those.
Well, they've made it, there's a couple of them
Yeah.
did make the design, and
Yeah.
and they made the 15 foot, but that certainly wasn't, so.
I don't even know if they have sewer on that street.
No, he had a septic plan with him too, that's what Charlie
No, I
was.
don't think they do.
Septic one?
I mean, yeah,
So I'm wondering how that,
yeah. Isn't Border, wasn't that one of the ones targeted for this next phase?
Well,
That's
it would, Valley,
Yeah.
Border,
Valley's the
but
next
they
row
got,
over.
well, Valley runs into Border,
right,
becomes, around the
Yeah.
corner, by the back of Crockett's.
yeah.
And, we kinda got bumped out. They did up to, Hollamore instead. That was, we were supposed to be next,
Oh, I
I live
see.
on
I
Valley,
remember you talking about
Yeah,
that, that's
yeah.
right.
so there's not
Say-
any talk about the next.
But it's still in this phase of sewer construction.
Yes.
It might not be
But
appropriated the dollar
Yes.
amount, but it's in this, which means it should go in
That's a
FY
tough road.
18.
Probably drives better when it's snowing.
Right, so we're done? Yes.
Pretty good spot there. Quiet.
I love it. I have a, kind of like a double lot and